Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines across the continent. This alarming situation cannot continue. It's the UN statement after 700 people have died in Fasher since May. UN Human Rights Chief is imploring the paramilitary rapid support forces to halt a siege of the Sudanese city. More than 100 French troops have left Chad's capital, the beginning or the end of a military cooperation which dated from 1960. And are you ready for a culinary feast for the festive season? Chef Sonia Marty Sokouri is the most Parisian of the African cooks, and she will share with us her gourmet tips. But we start in Sudan, where more than 700 people have been killed in the Fasher city in North Darfur state since May. The latest UN report says the casualties came amid regular and intensive shelling by the RSF of densely populated residential areas, as well as recurrent airstrikes by the Sudanese armed forces. Sudan's army and the RSF have been locked in conflict for more than 18 months, triggering a profound humanitarian crisis. The UN Human Rights Chief is today imploring the rapid support forces to hold the siege of the city and says the situation cannot continue.
The continuing siege of Fasher and the relentless fighting are devastating lives every day on a massive scale. This alarming situation cannot continue. The rapid support forces must end this horrible siege, and I urge all parties to the conflict to stop attacks on civilians and civilian objects.
And meanwhile, the humanitarian situation is worsening, in particular for women. Close to 3 million of women are displaced in the country. Almost 80% of health facilities are closed or severely restricted in crisis-affected areas, leaving many mothers fearful for the future of their families. Emily Ball reports.
Sabrine is 8 months pregnant with her 4th child. Months of conflict in Sudan has forced her to flee her home. Sabrine is one of the estimated 2.7 million women of reproductive age who are displaced in Sudan, according to the UN Population Fund.
After I give birth, I worry about the cold weather and not having a proper place to put my baby. We don't have a home. We sleep outside, on the floor.
More than 272,000 pregnant women are currently displaced in Sudan, and almost 91,000 will give birth in the next 3 months, often unable to access antenatal, safe delivery or postnatal services.
As I approach childbirth, I worry about whether it will be a normal delivery or require a C-section. The thought of needing a C-section terrifies me because I cannot afford the costs.
Up to 80% of health facilities are either closed or barely functioning in crisis-affected areas. As a result, women are dying from pregnancy and childbirth-related complications.
We had to leave our villages. At the time, I was 9 months pregnant, and Arab men destroyed the health centers, so I had to leave.
Sudan had already endured years of crisis, but the war has unleashed a humanitarian catastrophe on an immense scale. The UN says nearly 1.5 million people across Sudan either face famine or are at risk of famine, including an estimated 35,000 pregnant women.
France has now begun to withdraw its soldiers from Chad. The French army had some 1,000 personnel in the country, and a contingent of 120 soldiers left the capital this Friday. Chad announced last month its decision to end the defense accord with Paris, mainly dating from independence in 1960. Chad was France's last foothold in the wider Sahel region. But French President Emmanuel Macron announced on Friday that the French base in Djibouti would be reinvented as a protection point for missions in Africa.
Our role is changing in Africa, but that's what we wanted, because public opinion changes, governments changed, because we have decided in a sovereign manner to rebuild a partnership based on respected partners who must explain their needs, formulate them, and towards whom we must help with training, help with equipment, help with intelligence and for specific operations. But we need to change the logic we had in too many countries of installed permanent bases.
General Muhoozi Kainerugaba is Uganda's President Museveni's son. He's also the head of the armed forces, and he recently sparked outrage in the DRC and Sudan with a series of controversial tweets. Known for his explosive statements on social media, the general has long been seen as a potential successor to his father. Clément Deroma is in Kigali.
This week, Uganda's army chief and first son of the president, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, posted and later deleted tweets about the conflict in eastern DRC. He threatened to fight against Western mercenaries supporting the Congolese army against the M23 rebellion starting January 2nd. In response, Congo's foreign minister summoned a Ugandan diplomat to demand an explanation for these inappropriate remarks. In another set of tweets, Kainerugaba claimed that with the help of Donald Trump in the US, he could capture Sudan's capital, Khartoum, prompting Sudan's foreign minister to demand an official apology from Uganda. Kainerugaba was removed from the army in 2022 after threatening to invade Kenya on Twitter, but has since been promoted as head of all armed forces in the country. He recently pledged support for his father's 2026 presidential bid, abandoning his own brief political ambitions, also announced on Twitter.
A scientific study identifies the Nairobi River that crosses Kenya's capital as one of the most contaminated on the continent, mainly because of the surrounding factories, but not only. Millions of people live in the river basins, often spilling their waste into it. More and more residents are now complaining about the smell and the risk to their health. Elodie Cousin and Bastien Renaud report.
Organizers of this festival had hoped the gathering could raise awareness about the dangerous levels of pollution in the river flowing through Kenya's capital. They were shocked when the event was shut down by police.
We notified them. All the artists are coming, but you can see what's happening.
It's a sensitive topic. For years, authorities in Nairobi have acknowledged the problem, but struggled to provide solutions.
This river cannot be clean because if you try to see many industries, all their pollution, strategic like waste, they're being dropped to the river. So they can't lie to us that this river can be clean.
The contamination comes from factories, but also from the city's 5 million residents. Only about half of Nairobi is covered by sewage lines. Downstream, this dirty water is used by farmers, often living fields enshrouded by full odors.
The water comes here to my farm and we use it to irrigate the crops. If it is dirty, then the plants become dirty too.
They will still have to be solved. Some campaigners are taking matters into their own hands. Some even built public toilets that are connected to the sewage system himself.
As a person and as an organization, we really need to do something. We cannot just wait for the government to come and do something for us. So it is a collective responsibility. With the citizens and the government itself, all of us have to play a role in order to ensure that our rivers in the long run become clean.
As activists gear up, the government is also slowly modernizing the existing network, aiming to eventually connect several 100,000 people soon. However, these efforts will need to be significantly expanded to have a real impact, as Nairobi's population is projected to double to 10 million by 2050.
Now, we're just a few days away before Christmas. Whether you celebrate it or not, the festive season is in the air, and it's a particular special time for all the cooks around the world, either to greet family or entertain diners in restaurants. And one of his busy cooks is Chef Sonia Marty, and she's with us now. Welcome, Sonia. So tell us first, how would you describe your cuisine?
Oh, first of all, thank you for inviting me tonight. I will say my cuisine, I guess it's a celebration of culture, of flavor, of also creativity. I definitely love creativity in a plate, and I drew my inspiration from traditional cuisine. But as I love creativity, I love also to put the creativity on the plate, and so I like the blending of traditional dishes and I will say Western.
So when you say traditional, you're thinking about, because you're from Ivory Coast, so you're thinking about
from Ivory Coast, yes. Yes.
So traditional for you is how would you describe?
It is what we eat, daily. It's our ingredient, which is not much transformed, But today we have also the possibility with the Western techniques, the modern techniques, to increase our creativity in kitchen, in African kitchen.
So how would you apply this creativity and this mix of traditional African and European cuisine for this festive season? Any suggestions for Christmas menus, for example?
Oh, well, I will say, first of all, eat what you like most and what you don't used to eat. It is a celebration. Christmas is celebration. So I will invite people to, as much as you can afford, of course, to put on the table something that you don't use to. For example, in my country, we love to eat chicken, but sometimes we switch for Guinea fowl, for example, which is very tasty, which is more fine. So why not? Why not, for example, grilled goat or fish? If you used to eat meat, try to eat fish, for example, grilled fish with mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, which would be much better, for example, or even mashed cassava, for example.
Yam, yes.
Yam, yeah.
So African fusion cuisine is now trending. There's many actually chefs around the world, even with Michelin star from Africa. So how do you make a difference yourself? How can you be different from the others?
Well, I will say what set me apart will be probably the blending of traditional and innovation. I love innovation, and I'm pretty sure that we can definitely innovate in our cuisine because we have so many different ingredients. We are talking about 45 countries in Africa, and even in the same country, 54. Even in the same country like Ivory Coast, we have more than 60 ethnic groups. So imagine that, all the differences of ingredients that we can definitely involve, and so we can make so many different things with our ingredient
without being too expensive.
Without being too expensive, of course, because we have every time when I'm talking with people, I say, please focus on local food, focus on local dishes and ingredients. We have seasonal food, we have seasonal ingredients. Stop put on your plate ingredient which come from Europe or Asia. We have everything in Africa. We are so blessing, in Africa.
I know you're in charge of preparing a big Christmas menu for very reputed, famous Parisian restaurant.
Yes.
Can you share the menu with us?
Oh my God, it will be really long. Okay, the menu is in 5
courses.
Courses.
Oh wow, 5. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start with an appetizer, which will be avocado and mango with crispy chorizo, and of course African spices, especially Cameroonian spices, because I love Cameroonian spices. And then we will have as a starter, we will have scallops. Yes, we will have also a Guinea fowl with mushrooms and potatoes. And we will have, as they said, we'll have a very, very beautiful your leg, yes. So a chocolate cake with coconut mousse.
That's for the dessert.
Yeah, for the dessert. But before the dessert, we'll have a cheese from Benin.
Oh, okay.
Yes, called wangashi. And it will be very nice menu.
Yes, I can already taste it. Thank you very much, Chef Sonia.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This feast to conclude our edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to France 24 for more news.
The 2004 tsunami that decimated Banda Aceh had unexpected consequences.
All the other buildings were destroyed. Only the mosque survived.
The tsunami kick-started the peace process. The Indonesian government focused its energy on rebuilding.
Humanitarian aid and international presence brought peace, but for many, the disaster was a divine retribution.
To all residents of Banda Aceh, we request you to cease all business activity when the call to prayer is made.
Today, the entire province is under Sharia law.
If you're caught with a member of the opposite sex that you don't have family ties with, it's 10 lashes or 10 months in prison.
Watch Banda Aceh Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.